Everything we thought we knew about the Shy is about to be ripped apart, and it starts with EMTT bleeding out in the street while Reggie vanishes into the shadows he knows so well. The South Side has always lived on the edge, but after that bullet flew, there's no edge left, just a free fall into chaos nobody can stop. Episode 9 isn't just another chapter, it's the moment where the show decides who lives, who dies, and who's never the same again. For years, EMTT has been the glue, the pulse, the reason so many broken pieces kept moving together instead of exploding apart. But now, with EMTT lying in that hospital bed, if he's even still breathing, the heartbeat of this community is faint, and the wolves smell blood. Reggie didn't just pull a trigger, he kicked down a door that can't be closed again. He's never cared about rules, but this time he didn't break the code, he set it on fire. The streets remember, and they don't forgive. Knock, who always played by his own quiet rules, has murder in his eyes for the first time in years. Hannibal is done watching from the shadows. And Victor? He's trying to keep his new promise to Tiffany while his old loyalties drag him deeper into a war he never wanted. The South Side doesn't wait for anybody to decide which side they're on. You pick fast or you get picked off. And then there's Tiffany, who thought a stolen kiss with Victor might finally bring her the peace she's been craving for so long. But the universe laughs at peace around here. Now she's stuck in a storm she didn't cause, loving a man torn between the new life he wants and the old life that keeps dragging him back. How do you hold on to hope when the walls are caving in around you? One moment she's whispering dreams of tomorrow, the next she's bracing herself for the knock on the door that means the street took someone she loves. Meanwhile, the whole neighborhood feels like it's holding its breath. MTT's parents, Darnell and Jada, have lived too many lifetimes of heartbreak already. Watching MTT slip away, helpless to fix it, might be the final crack that breaks them for good. The community looks to them for strength, but how much can two people carry before they crumble? Episode 9 promises no mercy, no easy answers, and no guarantees that the people we've clung to will still be here when the credits roll. So here's the question that should keep you up tonight. When the South Side finally explodes, who's going to be left standing in the smoke? Nobody's sleeping easy on the South Side tonight, not when every corner whispers EMTT's name like a ghost that won't rest. Word travels faster than bullets out here, and by now, everyone knows what Reggie did, and what might come next. Old grudges are crawling out of dark corners, debts are being called in, and people who thought they were done with this life are dusting off the parts of themselves they buried deep. Knock has always been the quiet storm, a man who believed keeping his head down kept his people safe. But Reggie's bullet just ripped that belief to shreds. Now he's roaming the block, eyes wide open, ears sharper than ever, hunting for any sign that Reggie's still in reach. And if he finds him first, the rules of the street won't even matter. Knock's got his own justice waiting. But Reggie knows how to disappear. He's a cockroach. He scurries when the lights come on, and right now he knows every back alley, every safe house, every old friend willing to buy him a day's head start. But there's a difference this time. He crossed a line so raw, so personal, that even his old protectors don't want that blood on their doorsteps. There's nowhere to run when the whole neighborhood wants your head on a spike. So what's Reggie gonna do? Lay low and pray EMTT doesn't pull through? Or come out swinging before the street can bury him alive? Victor's not built for this mess. He's always been the man trying to carve out a little pocket of calm in the middle of the storm, a job, a house, a love worth fighting for. Tiffany gave him that spark again, but now the fire's burning too hot to hold. Every time he looks at her, he sees the future they could have. But every time he steps outside, he's dragged back to the past he can't outrun. He wants to protect her from this world, but how do you lock the door when the whole block's on fire? If EMTT dies, Victor knows what comes next. Blood for blood, and maybe his own hands get dirty again. How do you love somebody when you're scared they'll wake up and find out who you really are? Meanwhile, Darnell is pacing those hospital floors like a man trapped between rage and helplessness. He's lost too much already. Friends, years, pieces of himself. And now he might lose the son he tried so hard to keep safe. Jada sits by EMTT's side, praying every second, bargaining with any god who'll listen. She's beaten sickness, heartbreak, betrayal. But how does a mother fight death when it's already in the room? If EMTT's eyes open, maybe they all get a second chance. If they close for good, there's no telling what pieces of these people will break for the last time. So ask yourself this: if EMTT doesn't wake up, who's gonna light that first match? While the hospital walls echo with silent prayers and the South Side streets bristle with whispers of payback, there's a storm gathering that no one can outrun. Word that EMTT might not make it has turned street corners into war rooms. The old heads lean against brick walls, mumbling about the days when beefs were settled with fists and grudges died in backyards. But everyone knows those days are long gone. Now it's young guns and old scores, and every kid who ever looked up to EMTT is ready to bleed, to prove the streets don't forget who bled first. Knock's face has changed. People see it when he passes. He doesn't nod, doesn't smile, just keeps that 1,000-yard stare locked on a target only he can see. He's the last person anybody wants to see angry, because Knock doesn't do threats or warnings, he does results. Reggie knows it too. He's not hiding because he's scared of the cops. They're the least of his worries. He's hiding because he knows Knock's kind of revenge. Doesn't knock on the front door. It slips through windows at 3 a.m. and doesn't leave until there's nothing left to find. But here's the thing about Reggie. He feeds off fear like oxygen. He's the snake that sheds its skin every season, always coming back meaner than the last time we saw him. Some say he's planning to cut a deal, hand over dirt to the cops just to buy himself an exit plan. But others say Reggie's too dirty for that. He'd rather watch the block burn down than beg for protection. And right in the middle of this mess is Victor and Tiffany, clinging to each other like they can't tell if they're saving each other or dragging each other down. Tiffany's got that look in her eyes. The one that says she's not sure this man she kissed is the same man she fell for. She knows he's got secrets tucked away behind soft words and careful smiles. And maybe she's okay with that. Until she's not. Because when the streets call, Victor's the first to say he's done, but the first to answer anyway. He keeps telling her this time it'll be different, but how can it be when the same blood keeps staining his hands? It's not just the young ones feeling this quake either. Darnell, for all his mistakes and regrets, stands at EMTT's bedside, remembering every moment he wasn't there. Every promise he made to be better, every chance he wasted. Watching EMTT fight for breath is like watching all his failures laid bare under hospital lights. He wants to make it right, but how do you fix something when the person you wronged might never wake up to forgive you? And Jada, strong, proud, fierce Jada, she's the only one not breaking in front of EMTT, because mothers don't get to break. She holds his hand and talks to him like he can hear every word, telling him the South Side needs him, telling him to come back because there's still good in this world worth fighting for. But behind those tired eyes, she's already making peace with the part of her that knows she might have to bury her baby. And the streets feel it. The corners get quieter, but the looks get louder. Eyes dart to shadows, phones light up with rumors, back alleys fill with people making promises they can't keep. Old heads who swore they were done with all this have loaded up guns they promised their kids they'd never touch again. Because if EMTT goes, the fragile little bit of hope the South Side has clung to goes with him. He was the link, the one who could talk to hustlers and preachers, kids and old men, mothers and corner boys. If that voice goes silent, who's going to stop the next bullet, the next betrayal, the next funeral? Meanwhile, Reggie's name drips from every lip like poison. Some say they spotted him ducking through abandoned lots. Others swear he skipped town entirely, hiding out with cousins nobody remembers until they need a couch and a gun. But every rumor just adds gasoline to a fire that doesn't need any help burning. The longer he stays gone, the hotter the hunt gets. Knock's crew is already pulling favors from people they'd rather never owe. Hannibal, quiet as ever, is moving pieces nobody even sees. He's the kind who smiles while he digs the hole. The streets know it, and so does Reggie. So maybe Reggie thinks he's the hunter. Maybe he thinks he's the fox that outruns the hounds every time. But even foxes slip up, and when he does, There won't be any mercy waiting. And what happens if EMTT opens his eyes? That's the question burning holes in everybody's mind. If he wakes up, maybe he talks, maybe he says Reggie's name, maybe he doesn't, maybe he forgives, maybe he demands payback himself. Nobody really knows because nobody's ever really known EMTT the way they think they do. Underneath all that loyalty and swagger, there's a man who's watched the South Side chew up better people than him and spit them out cold. Maybe he's tired. Maybe this bullet did what nobody else could, made him decide he's done saving people who don't want to be saved. Or maybe it did the opposite. Maybe it gives him the fire to come back harder, to remind the block who really runs these streets when he's standing tall. But that's a big if. Doctors whisper about blood loss, surgeries, the way a man's body gives up even when his people refuse to. Jada squeezes his hands so tight her knuckles go white, praying he'll squeeze back. Darnell leans against that wall like it's the only thing keeping him upright. And Victor stands in the hallway, staring at the floor, wondering if the man who held him up when he had nothing left will be there to hold him up tomorrow. Tiffany watches him, wondering if this is the life she's signing up for. Cold hospital tiles, whispered threats, bodies that don't always come home. And all the while, the streets wait. They wait for the news, they wait for the fallout, they wait for someone to say the word that turns this simmer into an inferno. Because whether EMTT lives or dies, one truth is already locked in. The South Side will never be the same after tonight. So tell me this, when the dust clears and the last gun goes quiet, who's going to pay the price for everything that's about to go down? Somewhere deep in that hospital, a monitor beeps steady and low, each pulse a reminder that life can slip away even when you're not ready to say goodbye. EMTT is fighting in a silence none of us can break. The street, the families, the old heads leaning against fences and swapping stories of how it all used to be. Maybe he hears them, maybe he doesn't, but every breath he takes keeps a fragile promise alive that maybe tomorrow won't taste like blood and regret. But outside those white walls, the South Side doesn't sleep. It paces. It plots. It remembers every debt Reggie owes and every secret he carries that could drag a dozen more names down with him. He's not just a man on the run. He's a fuse burning toward a stick of dynamite nobody knows how to defuse. He knows where the bodies are buried because he's the one who buried half of them. And if he feels that trap closing in, there's no telling how much he'll burn just to keep from going down alone. Knock isn't asking questions anymore. The man who always moved like a shadow now steps out into daylight with a look that makes grown men swallow their words. He's called in favors from corners that haven't heard his name in years. He's reminded people why they used to be afraid of him, not because he shouted, not because he threatened, but because he never did. Knock's justice is simple. You take from him, he takes back twice as hard, twice as quiet. So the block watches him move, and they wonder if they should pray for Reggie or run before the storm eats everyone in its path. Victor keeps telling himself he can fix this, that he can stand between Knock and Reggie, between the streets and Tiffany, between the ghosts that circle him and the life he's trying to build. But the truth is, catching up, he can't fix what doesn't want fixing. He can't mend a city stitched together with betrayal and broken promises. And deep down, part of him knows the man he's trying so hard to become still has the old him stitched into every scar. Tiffany sees it too. She lies awake at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying that kiss and wondering if she just signed up for a love story or a tragedy she won't walk away from. And Darnell? He's running out of ways to bargain with the past. Every time he steps into EMTT's room, he sees himself 20 years ago, swearing he'd never be the kind of father who watched his son fight battles alone. But life chews up those promises fast. And now he stands beside that bed, silent prayers stuck in his throat, guilt sinking claws into his spine. He wonders what he'll say if EMTT wakes up, or worse, what he'll do if he does. Jada is a different kind of strong. She doesn't yell. She doesn't threaten. She just holds his hand and whispers stories about when he was small, about the days before the corners claimed him, about the little boy who scraped his knees and still believed his mama could fix anything. Maybe she still can. Or maybe she's telling those stories for herself, So when the machines go quiet, she'll remember him smiling instead of bleeding. But the South Side doesn't care about prayers and promises. It only respects action. And right now, the action is loud. There are knocks on doors at midnight, quiet meetups in parking lots, cash passed under tables to keep lips sealed or open them wide. Hannibal's name is back in circulation too, a man who knows how to make people disappear in ways that don't leave bodies behind. If Reggie thought he'd slip out the back door and vanish, he underestimated how deep these roots run. Everyone's got a cousin or a friend or a sister who owes them one last favor. Everyone's got dirt that can be dug up if the price is right. There's a rumor spinning through the back alleys and smoky basements that Reggie's got a plan even dirtier than the bullet he put in EMTT. Some say he's planning to flip on the whole block. Names, stash houses, dirty secrets that would bring the neighborhood to its knees and keep him breathing just long enough to vanish somewhere nobody says his name again. But here's the catch. The South Side has a memory like an elephant and a reach like a serpent, no matter how far he runs. No matter how deep he digs in, somebody always knows somebody. And eventually, debts come due. While the hunt for Reggie sharpens, the city itself seems to pause. Corners that used to buzz with life feel tense, like the air's thick with thunder that hasn't cracked yet. Kids keep their heads down, mothers pull them inside sooner, old men sit on porches and nod to each other like they've seen this before and know how ugly it gets before it's done. There's an unspoken agreement drifting through block after block. If EMTT dies, there will be no peace until someone pays in blood. Victor and Tiffany feel that pressure like heat under their skin. Every conversation turns into an argument about staying safe, about keeping heads down, about whether love is enough to stand between them and the fire rolling down the block. Victor wants to believe he can be the man Tiffany needs. A man who walks away from old grudges and old ghosts. But the South Side doesn't just let you walk away. It drags your past behind you like a chain. And if EMTT doesn't open his eyes, that chain's gonna pull Victor right back under. Meanwhile, inside that cold hospital room, every second drags like a lifetime. EMTT's chest rises and falls, machines hum and beep, but nobody knows what's happening behind those eyelids. Is he fighting to come back? Is he floating somewhere that feels better than the fight waiting for him? His people cling to hope, because that's all they've got left. But hope is fragile in this city. It breaks easy, and it doesn't get stitched up like bullet wounds. So what happens next? Maybe Knock finds Reggie before the cops do. Maybe Hannibal does. Maybe Reggie slips and pulls half the block down with him just to buy himself a little more time. Maybe Victor picks a side he can't live with. Maybe Tiffany decides love isn't enough when survival's on the line. Maybe Darnell and Jada watch that monitor flatline and realize this story has no happy ending. Or maybe, just maybe, EMTT's eyes flicker open, his fingers twitch, and the South Side breathes out a sigh nobody dared to hope for. But even if that happens, peace is gone. Reggie's bullet already made sure of that. The alliances, the secrets, the fragile promises of loyalty, all of it is a house of cards in a windstorm now, and when those cards fall, there won't be any heroes left, just survivors. Some will say this is just how it goes, that the South Side's always been this way, a cycle of pain wrapped in loyalty, wrapped in hope, but this time feels different. This time, the stakes feel final. Like once the trigger was pulled, there was no road back to normal. So tonight, the neighborhood watches, waits, prays, plans. Mothers hush their kids and peek through curtains. Old heads count favors and enemies in equal measure. And somewhere, Reggie counts bullets and seconds, knowing each tick might be the last he gets to breathe free air. EMTT lies between life and death, holding the fate of every promise, every dream, every revenge in the shallow rise and fall of his chest. And maybe when dawn comes, there'll be an answer. Maybe not. But when the sun comes up over the South Side, one truth will stand tall among the broken glass and whispered prayers. The game changed the second that bullet hit, and no one gets out clean now. The question is, when it's all over, who's still standing to bury the dead and write the next chapter? Because this story isn't about how the Chi ends, it's about what rises from its ashes when the smoke clears. And after tonight, there's no going back. So ask yourself, when the streets finally settle this debt, who's going to be left to tell the tale? Or will the South Side bury its secrets with EMTT, one heartbeat at a time?